Hello and welcome to On the Road to Beijing, the 7th episode in this series, which will take you up to August 8th, the day when the flame will enter the Olympic Stadium, only 3 months away. The torch scaled to its highest peak this week as it reached the summit of Mount Everest, a first in the history of the flame.
Joy as the Olympic flame is lit at the peak of the world, making history the first time the torch has reached Mount Everest, but the stage also has a symbolic value. The flame was carried by a Tibetan. The team finally reached the summit after a 6-hour and 545-metre slog. The trek is pretty demanding, already cancelled several times because of heavy snow. Chinese television interviewed the exhausted and emotional relay leader.
It's so hard.
This torch, specially designed for high altitudes, was just a replica of the main flame. Beijing wanted to make this the highlight of the journey in the hope that a successful trip to Everest would overshadow the chaos in cities like Paris and London. For China, the passage of the flame here in Tibet is symbolic of national harmony between different ethnic groups. However, it's not left everyone happy. Tibetans in exile protested against this stage as proof that they're controlled by the Chinese.
The ascent of the torch was filmed by Chinese television, making use of sophisticated technology to broadcast the event live around the world. Television has always allowed us to follow the greatest moments of the Olympic Games. The IOC in Lausanne is currently negotiating the broadcast rights for the 2014 and 2016 Games. Broadcast rights are a big deal for television networks.
Across the world, the Olympics ranks second, right after the Football World Cup, in attracting television viewers. 35,000 hours of airtime in 220 countries make the Olympics a true international event for the media. During the Athens Olympics in Greece, 4 billion people watched the games on the telly. And broadcasting rights to the games cost a fortune. Estimates show the International Olympic Committee is slated to make more than $1 billion during the Beijing Games. Since 1996, one of IOC's major financiers has been the American channel NBC. For the Beijing Olympics, the channel will pay almost $900 million, and in return, NBC can negotiate schedules of some finals of popular events, like swimming, for example, that will take place during primetime slots in the United States. The national French TV group has paid up to $50 million, but it goes way beyond broadcasting rights.
One of the major points of the contract is related to new media, like showing the games on internet and mobile phones. Plus, we are also paying for the kind of ads that may or may not be allowed. For example, we cannot put commercial ads right next to the Olympic rings.
With every passing Olympics, the terms for broadcasting rights have become more and more complex. The IOC says during the last Olympics, on an average, the French watched more than 17 hours of games on the telly.
It's a goldmine for public TV channels. That's true for the BBC in the UK, for the German channel, and channels in many countries. And it helps us to create a better image as well, and brings long-term benefits.
And it's not just a question of attracting bigger audiences and bigger ad revenues. Broadcasters sell the videos to other channels as well. For example, Équipe TV, a 24-hour private French sports channel that can show only 1 minute of Olympics every 2 hours. To avoid paying huge fees to the IOC, the channel will pay the French public TV to buy extra footage.
To be able to buy videos, that's fine. To be able to rebroadcast them for some time would be even better. But right now, the broadcasting rules prevent us from showing the same images twice without paying an extra fee. And that creates problems because then we have to go around some of our programs and airtime schedules.
As for NBC, no such problems. For 18 days non-stop, it will show the maximum amount of live coverage from Beijing, all of course at a hefty price.
Joining me now is sports director for French public television, Daniel Bilalian. Hello. Are you involved in negotiation for the 2014 Games?
Yes, from the 15th of May until the end of June, we will be negotiating the Winter Olympics in Sochi for 2014, and the venue of 2016 is still a secret because the host cities are designated after the Beijing Games.
Now, as France Télévisions, how much does it cost to broadcast the Games?
The bill will be about $50 million, to which you have to add production costs of about 10 million euros, because on the spot we won't be simply picking up the international signal.
$50 million.
But we'll be personalizing the program with our own live cameras, which will focus on French champions, and we will also be...
Now, this has been grafted onto the bill with 200 people on the spot.
200 people on the spot and 200 people in Paris.
Now, let's compare this to the World Cup or a Tour de France of $50 million. Is that the same amount, roughly speaking?
No, it's more than that.
The Olympic Games, is that more costly?
It's 17 hours of programs for over 15 days, plus the resale rights to different specialized channels, or anybody who's interested in the programs will be able to resell them, internet rights, VOD, etc.
Now, people say that NBC, for example, they got the exclusive rights in the United States, paid 10 times as much as you did, and also imposed the time slots for the broadcast of some of the disciplines to be in prime time in the United States.
Yes, we did protest, but NBC is the largest donor, and so they have obtained certain rights. So it will no longer happen anymore, because the spirit of the Olympic Games is to accept the times of the host country. So if each player starts to play around with the schedules, it will lead to very difficult situations.
That's in the morning, actually, for swimming.
It disturbs all television programs except the Americans, and even worse, it goes against the spirit of the Olympic Games because it disturbs the competitions and the athletes, because running very early in the morning isn't the normal time. Normally finals are held in the evening for athletics and swimming.
With the heat in Beijing, well, that's perhaps an opportunity. Now, what kind of guarantee do you have, and how can you make sure that the footage will be broadcast live?
Well, there's been a misunderstanding here. It's not the Chinese television that will be broadcasting the Olympic Games. It's the IOC, which has signed a contract with an independent production company, which will provide a signal, a live signal.
Are you sure?
Yes, you can do anything you like.
Thank you very much, Daniel Bilalian, for joining us on France 24. We can all watch the Olympic Games on TV, but it's even better to see them live at the stadium. But obviously, we have to be able to buy tickets. No simple matter. On Monday, the Chinese rushed onto the internet and off to the bank to acquire the last million tickets for the competitions. 75% of tickets have been reserved for the Chinese public. Meanwhile, the torch is pursuing its course through the Chinese provinces. The Mount Everest flame will join the principal flame in the coming weeks, possibly during passage through Tibet in mid-June. Here's the route for next week. This brings us to the end of our program. Thank you for watching. We'll be back next week for the next leg of On the Road to Beijing on France 24.